Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Better Way of Life with myself, Graham Cofe, and Marianne Mills. How's your week been first? And then I've got a great topic to talk about today.
I've just finished day 6 of teaching. I did the AT last week, and then this week I did the Carver, which is the assessor qualification with Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue, not Fire Brigade. I found out yesterday they're not called Fire Brigade because they do lots of other different things. So yeah, I've just done a very long stint dealing with my children this morning, and I think going to work was easier.
I've got to Google it now.
It's London Fire Brigade, but
Right.
I think everywhere else is Fire and Rescue because of the different things that they do, which I've just been finding out about. So
Okay.
many things they do.
A brigade is a major tactical military formation that typically comprises 3 to 6 battalions plus supporting elements. It's roughly equivalent to an enlarged or reinforced regiment.
I think from what they said, it used to be that it was called the brigade. Like I said, the London, they've got the brigade because I've seen them on the Instagram. But I think everywhere else it's Fire and Rescue because of all the different
Elements
things, which I'm going to go out to watch. But also hearing the things that they do, it's just been incredible. Just what they deal with, and crossing over into my care work, we had some really long conversations about mental capacity and dementia and mental health stuff, and it's quite interesting.
Now,
But they don't get training on stuff really.
We'll talk about that. We're definitely going to talk about that. But I want to start with a great topic. You may have noticed, if the observant among you, that this is actually going out at a different time from it normally goes out. And part of that is to do with the fact that Marianne's been out and about all week doing the training, which means that, there hasn't been time in the week to get together to do a recording prior to the 8 o'clock showing on a Friday morning. But the other part of it is I've been incredibly busy as well. And then literally just before we came on air, Marianne said something very profound, and I thought, yeah, that is it. That's what we're going to talk about today, which is I should have gone to work for a rest today. And I totally feel that so many days. It's just like it, and it's a weird thing to say. And when people like talk about work-life balance, I really struggle with all of that because, and the bit that I really struggle with is the fact that people go, yeah, well, if you go to work, you do this work stuff, which is the hard stuff, which earns you the money and stuff, and that's hard, and then you need downtime from that, right? You need downtime, you need time to kind of rest and everything else.
What's that?
Yeah, well, no, and I get the fact that there is time. If you can get time when you completely rest, that is brilliant, right? But so often, especially if you're busy, especially if you've got a large family, especially if you're like, your life is interwoven with lots of other people or whatever, actually, the time outside of doing the work bit is actually as stressful as or more stressful, let's be honest here, than the work bit. Would you agree with that?
I would. Sorry, my internet's being really silly again. There we go. It should be all right now.
Cool.
Yeah, but I've actually this week, it's really funny because I've been traveling a lot and I actually find it really relaxing. I really
Being in
find
the
it like,
car.
it's been a beautiful journey, apart from the fact I had no signal, which in some respects actually has been really, really lovely because I'm used to I usually chat on the phone. So usually I'm trying to catch up with you or Ian or someone else, just trying to catch up on stuff and sort of using that time. So I've been in the car for sort of 2 hours each way. And I could have stayed away, but I thought, well, actually, Sometimes I find it harder when I've got stuff to do. It's easier to come home. It's been such a beautiful journey because I've been going on the country roads. But there was a few times so I either listen to really loud music. I'll often listen to podcasts in the car. So I listen to my Rob Dyer ones. But actually, a few times I've suddenly gone, "Oh, I've just been 20 minutes in silence,"
Yeah, I love
which
that.
is unheard of from it. Like I don't literally everybody will know that with me, I have to be doing something else. I don't ever just do one thing. And so yeah, it's just been quite
Yeah,
strange.
I totally get that. I often say, because prior to doing this, I spent a lot of my life running around the countryside, or even like, getting on boats and planes and other things to go places as part of work. And I really enjoyed that time traveling. Marianne's frozen again. Let it go, let it go. But yeah, I really enjoyed that time traveling because it gave me
Sorry,
headspace time.
sorry.
So it's all right. You
I don't
got
know
the
why it keeps going off.
interweb gremlins
It
this
shouldn't be
morning.
though, because it should just go wide straight into the house. I think when you do stuff where you're working with people and you're talking a lot, it is. I found, like I said, I could have stayed away, but then what I find then, I stay in a hotel room and I think, oh, I've got work to do. I can't really work properly on a laptop. Then I panic if I haven't got a printer. I seem to think that's my comfort blanket, which is ridiculous. But there's something about just that time where you can't go anywhere or do anything else, and you're in. I find as well driving the electric car quite because it's a really smooth drive. Um, I don't know. There's something quite. I find it quite relaxing driving. I didn't used to, but I do quite like it now. But yeah, I think. I mean, we've talked many a times about because you obviously work from home now, and you take on the sort of. Am I right in saying lion's share with the children, with the taking them to school, picking them up, and that kind of stuff? And I sort of reflected on the fact that I didn't sleep very well. I think probably because I've been used to getting up early, like to get up to go to work. So I'm thinking about all that. And I got up this morning, walked the dog, and thought, oh, I'm gonna clean the house because it's all those things I haven't been doing. And then thinking about it's wonderful that I've had work, that as in to go out there and everybody see what I'm doing. Because a lot of people I know say, you don't work a lot, do you? I say, but I do. I just, even my family don't understand. I said, it's not just like, it's a bit like acting. That's just a very, very small part of it. You've got all the lines you've got to learn and everything else.
That's a very
And
good analogy, actually.
well,
Yeah,
I said
very
to you,
good.
didn't I, about how you supporting me with my work. I was sort of thinking about that in a way, I was very anti having somebody doing what you do. I hold my hands up now because I can't remember her name now. I met her from Be Heard Media, I think it was, and she was saying why she did what she did because there was so many bigger companies out there offering. I don't know what you want to call it. What do you do? Like the social media stuff, that
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
but I do so much more than just
That
that.
bit, no, but that bit,
Yeah.
whatever that bit is, that bit. That she said it was very much it was the bigger companies that sort of like do it and dump it and run kind of thing, and
Mm.
that for me was why I thought I can't hand my I'm a bit of a control freak and I can't hand my business over essentially to someone else because that's sort of what you're doing, aren't you? So when I obviously got to know you, I was like, okay. And I think I said to you yesterday, it's a bit, you don't sort of do all the prep work, you then wait in the wings as well. So I'll say to you what I've been doing at the training and I send you pictures and that kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't give that to their work. But I also know with me, like I left the guys this week. Some of them weren't there yesterday for their micro teachers, and I know they're freaked out by the amount of work they've got to do. And then I end up being a bit like a counsellor and a bit like a mentor and a bit like lots of different things, sort of saying to them, you know, it's fine. I'll get you through, and I will. The same as, you know, when I've messaged you because I've had password problems and that kind of stuff. It's about being.
Do you think that's part and parcel of it? When I was listening to you talking there, I was thinking you say, you know, you multiple different things to people. It's not just the one thing. It's not like, I think probably because you care about what you do, you don't just go in and deliver and then go off home, you know. And you know, I'm the same. Do you think it's partly that actually you love doing what you do, but you do use up a lot of bandwidth doing what you do, and then actually that makes it even more difficult when you're then spending time at home or whatever, because it actually, if people at home need you from an emotional support point of view or whatever else as well,
GCSEs and SATs,
yeah, you've already really used up all of your bandwidth in terms of kind of emotional support and whatever over there. I'm making it sound like it's something like that you only have like a finite amount of, but in a way you do.
Well,
And let's go back to that bit that you said right at the beginning. Actually, do you ever get a rest? It's really, really difficult to get a rest these days. Really, really difficult.
I'm going to go for one. I'm going to go for one in a bit. My
right.
Pilates.
Is that Pilates? Yeah.
Mm. That's my 45 minutes of, my me time. And I've not suffered, but because I've been working, I didn't go on Tuesday. So, John messaged me and went, "Oh, we missed you." And I said, "I know, because I was working, I couldn't go." And yeah, then you have to sort of try and get back into that. But it's interesting, that bandwidth thing, because I will keep. Don't even know if I even think about giving, and I think you're the same, because I just naturally, if somebody needs something, I'm like, oh, okay. And I've had to, since I got diagnosed, I've probably been a bit more mindful of who I do for. So now when I do things, I'll do it because I want to. Before I used to get a bit resentful that if somebody, not that I expected it back, but there were times you would, you know. But in terms of work, I was thinking about this when I was mopping the floor this morning. I don't know why then, but I think I was listening to something on telly. And it was to do with the cost of things. It was an advert. That was it. It was an advert for My Perfect Face or something. I don't know what it was. And I was thinking about that they were saying that they were doing an offer. And then I was thinking about why companies do offers. And I was thinking, is this because they really need the work? Or is it because they really want people, like the business? Or is it because they really want people to have that? Or do people just sell something because they want it to be exclusive at the expense of others having it? Then it got me thinking about my business and about how much I charge and about how I used to think, oh, I can't really charge as much as other companies because, and someone said, because of what? Why? If you do the job well, then, so I think as time's gone on, I think, well, now I charge a little bit more at times than some companies, and there are some that are cheaper, but it now makes me feel less resentful of doing more. If you see, I can justify it, not resentful, but I can justify it because I'm charging for it. And so that then kind of shows the difference between, and I'll proudly say that to people, you can go to somebody else and get that, but you're not going to get what you get from me.
Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit on the offer thing quickly first, because I love the whole concept of marketing and offers, obviously. A lot of offers are put out there for different reasons. Yeah. So some offers will be put out there because the business needs to create quick turnover and therefore churn, and therefore they are actually offering some kind of discount or whatever in order to increase the numbers, because
Yeah.
or it could be that actually if they do increase the numbers, that actually gives them that
More
actually
share.
can, well, that can lower the cost of the product, for example.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you're trying,
Yeah,
if you're trying at some point, maybe you sell blue socks, right, and you've brought in a pallet of blue socks, so you've got 10,000 pairs of blue socks, right? But actually, that if you could start to buy 10 pallets of blue socks, your unit price would come down. So what you need to do is you need to start getting the market going, to start shifting the volume in order to get it down. So there's lots and lots of different reasons. But I'd say that a lot of offers are pseudo offers. And I can remember as a kid watching that episode of Only Fools and Horses. I'm going to actually get this right, folks, because earlier in the week I did an interview and I said that I said something about a comedian saying something, and I said it was Harry Enfield, and it wasn't. And then afterwards I went and looked, and it was actually Punt and Dennis, and I'm really sorry about that. But this was Only Fools and Horses, and there was a famous scene. I can't remember the exact amount, but he's on the market stall and he's selling, and he goes basically he goes, someone says, how much is it? And he says, £4 each, 2 for a tenner. Right. and the guy says, I'll take 2 then. Right. Because some offers, to be frank, are all about the confidence by which it is portrayed. Right. So when you get something that's a buy one get one free, or it's a buy today, do this, etc., more than likely, of course there are ombudsman rules about this, but quite often if you read the small print, they will have done all of their due diligence on this, and they will have sold it at said price beforehand. At some point the price will have been inflated in order to make it possible for that to then happen. And then we sit there like goo goo dolls going, oh wow, that's amazing, I'm getting that
I'm really skeptical. I'm really skeptical.
We are all skeptical, except we're all skeptical except when we get down that aisle in the supermarket and whatever, or we're looking along and we see that and we go, that's a good price.
Well, I think also you have to think about what that cost means to you as well. Because again, I was thinking about the fact that, whether people like it or not, that training tends to be the thing that isn't, I was going to say valued. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's not priority. There we go. Until it's a priority. So I find it really difficult. And again, I spoke to you about this yesterday, because it's really hard to try and plan. I'm trying to think forward to the summer. And so I get people sort of interested, a little bit warm interest, a bit warm. And I'm sort of coaxing people along, not wanting to hassle. Then all of a sudden everybody wants everything now, and it makes it really difficult to then try to plan, particularly because of what I do. At the moment I've got some new stuff coming out, but because of what I do, what you actually see on those days is a very small fraction of what, it's a small fraction. I've just had 2 courses in 2 weeks, and that's 26 assignments to mark. I've got all over again, that's at least 2, 3, 4 hours per assignment, and that's the bit that people don't see. So when I look at LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is, that there's a lot of people offering training, I can't help but get a little bit annoyed, because it's possibly not training as such. It's often, I'm not going to say all, but, and interestingly, people will pay the same price for that than they might do for the course that I deliver. And yet for what I deliver, you get textbook, ebook, a qualification that's accredited. And I don't know, people are blinded a bit, and it gets a little bit frustrating, to say the least.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think people are blinded.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot. I just see quite often, and obviously my phone listens to me because quite often stuff comes about training up, selling me stuff, and I think, hang on a minute, that's what I do. And a lot of it is a lot of the online stuff. I know that the
Mm.
guys that I've been teaching this week, I actually got the work because, interestingly, I think I said I met somebody on an IQA course, so internal quality assurance course that I was on, delivering it, and the guy had a PGCE. So straight off, he understands he completely different background, and so sort of a year later, he then called me in and said, "Look, we've got a load of guys that have got the turning ladder. We need to get as many people trained using it as we can." But he said the snag is it costs £3,000 per day per person for them to be trained on it over in Germany. So, and then apparently I heard that, of course, that training wasn't really training. It was a mechanic who knows their stuff, but doesn't really know anything about training. So essentially, it was very expensive. So I think a couple of them had it, but what they basically had is a turnover of staff for various reasons, and they'd run out of trainers. So what he said was he had his head screwed on and said, look, he said he went to the grown-ups. I think the grown-ups are the ones that hold the money and make the decisions, and said, look, if I get somebody in to train the ones that already know about it, to train others, then that's a lot more cost effective to do it, which what we did. And it was a really good week that we had. So, but it was only off the back of then talking to, because I was at around one of the other managers that was a trainer. I don't know what his role is. He then said, actually, we've already got a quote from a company, but it's an online one. And he said, because we're very aware of neurodiversity, because they've got quite a few people on the team that are diagnosed with dyslexia and other people that are suspected to be, that's actually not our preferred way of doing it. They said we didn't really know where to go for it. So obviously I looked into it. And to be quite honest, the price didn't come in much different anyway. And then when I got talking to them the last week, they said that a few people they know had done it online. And I find it strange that you can actually do it online. That Zoom is one thing, and I don't really have an issue with that as such. But to actually do it online is really strange, because to be able to deliver the qualification I do, you've got to be qualified one level or above. So I don't really understand how somebody can then do the qualification themselves, because effectively they're teaching themselves. No matter how good the material is, to actually learn how to teach from a book so that you're going to learn how to teach people, I can't.
Look, I'm a big fan of online training to some extent. I think it's great that people can self-train in their own time, at their own pace, whenever they can. And in today's fast-paced world, right? Where basically, like, we've developed the biggest training platform in the world, which is YouTube. Where everybody learns to do something or other from YouTube, whether it's like fix a leaking tap, or whether it's learn to play guitar or whatever. But there is still, I'm sorry, there is still nothing like being there with somebody to pick up on the nuances. There is still nothing like being there with a group of people if you're delivering training or just even talking to people, to see what's going on and understand what's going on. And I think especially when the main topic that you're talking around is quite a visceral topic anyway, right? Yeah. To not understand that, I'll tell you what you lose a lot of the time with online training is context. And context is incredibly important for everything in life. If I mean, I do some work for a specialist seating manufacturer, and when they deliver their training, they deliver that training in person at their premises. And part of the training is that people get to go round the factory. They actually get to understand the mechanics of how those chairs are built, right? And they get to speak to the people that, you know, on the floor that are making those chairs in the different areas. They get to sit and use those chairs and you know, understand what those different adjustments do. You can't teach that stuff online. You just cannot do it online. You could do the sort of cerebral part of the course that they do and that deliver it over Zoom. But those people, if people just did that and then just saw photos and whatever, they would miss out on a massive part of the experience. And over the years, I've been to factories all over the world, actually, to do with specialist seating, for example. And what I learned just from actually absorbing something of the culture of that business for the day and speaking to the people behind the making of was really important, because you get to understand a lot more about what is possible and what isn't possible and all of those things, and that makes you better at what you do. So if I was then, as an assessor, which I was in the previous life, if I was then going out and seeing somebody and thinking, okay, I'm thinking this might be a good solution, I would know more in terms of actually, I'm pretty certain that's not possible, because when I had that conversation with that person in the factory, they said, yeah, but you know, there's always a problem if you try and do this, right? Yeah. Doesn't mean to say I wouldn't have that conversation with the manufacturer, but I wouldn't be spouting off, oh, yeah, we can do that. And those conversations are dangerous, right? And I think people that have poor training then have poor conversations, right? And it filters down because people think they have a little bit of knowledge. You know the saying, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. But because they have a little bit of knowledge, they then kind of spout that little bit of knowledge in a vacuous way. And it's dangerous because actually sometimes they will give people false hope, or they will say something about something which is potentially incorrect because they don't have the full context, the full understanding, the full knowledge base there to do it. And it will come back and bite somebody somewhere further down the line. Always does. Every single time. And that all comes back down to how we deliver training effectively in the first place. Wow, what a little rant, but it's true.
I think it's about opening your mind. And what I've seen again in the last 2 weeks is there's quite a few sectors that I'm going to stick my neck out here, and I'm going to say it because it's true, and it's not having a go, because things are changing. There are some quite male-dominated sectors, and that's not being sexist, because it is as it is, you know. And I see a very different. I mean, I'm seeing things changing. I am seeing things changing, and I do genuinely believe that that you can have a culture shift through training. And so that's why when I do what I do, so I come in to sort of effectively, I would say probably more than management, in all honesty, start that culture change in that if you, so I've had some.
Hello everybody and welcome to another My Music. I hope you're all well wherever. Who was that?
What happened?
I just thought I'd throw that in there to see whether your reaction. It was good, wasn't it?
I was paying attention. I was
like, yeah.
To see if I'm
I love a little bit of an abstract moment. That do you know what I did there? I just got. I want you to go back exactly to what you were talking about. But do you do this occasionally when you're training as well, right? which is that occasionally what you do is you throw in something which, as you're in the middle of doing something, do you ever throw something in to like just make sure that everybody's awake?
Well, it depends what my group is like. It really depends what the group is like. It's been a bit of a funny one for me because I've gone into a well-established group, and they're quite. I love male humour a lot, and I think it's great. It's funny actually because we had conversations about banter. That's not what I was going to talk about there, but I will for a second, about banter and when banter goes into bullying and how you have to be really careful. And then I know in the end I referred to you because I do a lot of the psychology stuff. That's my thing I put on this morning about on LinkedIn, how I ended up coming into doing what I was doing, and I never really intended on doing it, but it was so because I said I do all the pink fluffy stuff, which there was some of the guys by their own admittance that because they're already trainers, quite a few of them, they do what they do. And this was I said to you a bit of what I see a lot out there of where the issue is. So I get people that have done nothing, and there was two of the ladies that are non-operational, so they go out to do fire safety checks, and they'll be going to schools to do things as well. So completely different. So they've not done any training as such before. Different perspective. The other guys have. Some of them work at the fire school college, so they do it as their job all the time. They're trainers. They have been operational, and some of the other guys are operational, but they do deliver some training. So I'm dealing with quite a mixture in there as well, and in terms of some things being regulated and some not. And I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh no! So because they're already doing it, they sometimes don't really take on board that the thing that came up a lot, and it does for me, is that when people say it's always been done like that, and I go, it doesn't mean to say it's right. And I really try to fight against that. And of course, some of what I had was, and I had to keep stating that I'm not saying that I'm not saying you have to do it like this. What I'm saying is, if you use the psychology of behavior, you can actually think about, can I get something else from someone? Would it work better for them? Because just because it's always been done like that, I resorted in the end to women didn't used to vote once upon a time, and that wasn't right. And that's why also, like you were saying about the going out to see the factory and that kind of thing, I do where I can. If I know that I'm going to do quite a lot of work with a company or a service, I will take that time out, not at their cost, to go and see what they do. So like, I've just asked, can I go out and see them do some training? And I'm going to go to some prison or something somewhere, I think, because it gives me a greater understanding. It gives me a greater understanding, and it gives me a bit more respect. Because I know some people say, well, what would you know about fires? You don't fight fires. To which I have said, I don't fight fires, but I do understand what I do. So I won't teach whether it's fires or whether it's arresting people or whether it's going down drains or up scaffolding. But I do know my stuff. And what I do know is that some of the things can be taken through. And so eventually, I do believe, and I think it's happening, that if people change their outlook, that it then becomes a bit strange to have somebody that says, I'm not doing it that way because we've always done it the other way.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's so important that people understand the difference between good training and bad training. It fundamentally makes the difference between good outcomes in business and bad outcomes in business. And I think it's great that
to, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's great that you do what you do. It's interesting you saying, I know my bit and I don't know the other bit as well. That again is something that over the years I've seen, which is people that do not know stuff about stuff say that they do, right? And that again is really, really dangerous. You know, I
I think
mean,
it's about being open to. It's about being open to, and like I said, I take the time to understand what someone does, but I'll also say. So one of the guys actually said to me, it was really interesting, and he said to me, "Yes, we do a lot. We sometimes it's harder training people that already do what they do because you're almost like trying to break a wall down." But I'm saying that I'm not saying that what they do is bad. I'm just saying that you can, if you've never been taught how to build that wall, you never understand how to put it back together if it comes down. But what he said to me was that what one of the biggest things he'd learned was watching me dealing with how I train, to think about how, so when there's difficult conversations, so I could teach people how to have difficult conversations, but actually when people watch me deal with difficult conversations and how to deal with it, I'm then training them without actually meaning to train them. So, but I think what I said to you just earlier was, I think one of the biggest problems is that, and I don't know if it's you I spoke to about this the other day, was that you've got, every company's got their own agenda, whatever that is, whatever. And then you've got the people that work. And it doesn't, a lot of the time you'll see with services, it seems to be a bit of a problem because obviously if you're, particularly if you've got like the fire service or you've got, let's just say it's a care sector, you're providing something, you can't increase your profit by bringing in more sales. So the only way to do it is by cutting back on things. And so often not paying for training is quite an easy way of doing it, because if you haven't got to have that training, then that's short-term money saved. This is the thing. But what's come up this week and other weeks is that I stand there, I do what I do, and people look at me and I go, I know what you're going to say. And they say, we don't have the time to deliver that training. We don't have the resources to deliver that training. People tell us that the managers say that we've got to get through it quicker in half the time. And then what I do say to them is, I totally respect that, and I do. I don't agree with it, but what I do know is that by actually having a qualification and knowing the why behind it all, you're far better armed to be able to go back to a manager or whoever it is and say, you want us to do this and you paid for this. It's actually a complete waste of money if you don't give us this. And actually it then comes, you come with a solution, arguably, rather than moaning.
yeah.
And I remember
But
somebody teaching me about that. Go with a solution, not
do you know
a
what?
moan.
So much of business is like that.
Got another wasp in here, sorry.
It's not just in the training side of things.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's across the board, because and obviously that hits home with marketing as well, which is that, often people will cut marketing if they're not making the sales, right? Because how do I afford this? It's why I try and get really involved with the whole business with people,
Yes.
because so often I will challenge people. That I have these conversations, but I'll challenge people to go, well, hang on a minute. If you're talking about, I can't afford to do that, or I can't afford to do this. What are you actually doing? Let's look at what you are actually doing, because when people say to me, tomorrow I'm getting on the train and I'm going here and I'm going to do this and whatever, or I'm going to spend the next 5 days, I've got to do this. You say, well, and what's the return on investment for that? What are you actually getting out of that? Well, hopefully, well, hang on a minute. What you haven't done in any of this is set a business plan. What you haven't done is actually looked at all parts of your business in relation to each other, or all parts of the work that you're doing in relation to each other. And that's a massive mistake that people do. They go, okay, it must be this bit that I need to cut, or it must be that bit that's wrong, or whatever. They don't look at all the activity in the business and go, actually, you know. And one of the scariest things that sometimes I have to talk to people about in their business is, you know, that bit of thing that you do over there, yeah, don't do it anymore. What? Don't do that. Why? Because that's not making you any money. It's using up a lot of your time and you're making no money from it. Oh yeah, but I like doing that. Don't care. Don't care. It's not actually making you happy, because
It's
at the
taking
end of,
time away.
at the end of each month, you're going, there's no money in the business, and I'm depressed, and this isn't happening, and blah, 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 blah. But I still want to do that, right? I still want to do that, yeah. And you know, and we all have to ask ourselves that. There's things that, even myself, there are things that I do at the moment which I do because maybe they give me headspace, for example, or they're things that, you know, I like doing, right? And because I don't get out much, folks, you know, but I, even myself, I'm looking at, you know, the rest of 2024 and 2025 and beyond, and going, actually, there are some things here that I may need to actually change, right? And some things that, even though I love doing them, I might need to cut or whatever,
We're
because,
stuck in our ways as well.
well, no, but yeah, but also just because actually I've got to focus my attention over here. That's what's working. That's what, you know. And also, you know, you can't be everywhere 25 hours a day, 20 hours 20 days
It's
a week. So
interesting you were saying about the cutting the marketing budget, because when I was speaking to Ian yesterday, we were talking about the care sector particularly, and this whole issue of, obviously, with the network, that the care sector face many challenges. I get that, really busy, and then you've got suppliers that want to get together with the care sector to supply them, but sort of never the twain shall meet. And it got us talking about the fact that social media is one of the issues, that, you know, it doesn't matter. I think that I see lots of things go on in the care sector. I see lots of different awards. People will make their time for that. They'll go to those things. And yet, when it comes to actually putting that effort in, let's just say, to put things on Facebook or put things on LinkedIn, or like we've got with the Mighty Networks, they don't. And I well, in my 2 hours of driving, I was thinking, gosh, isn't it amazing? And I've said this so many times, and it when I say it to suppliers and to the care sector, I'll say, can you imagine needing something? If you needed a trainer, what do you do? Oh, I go to the internet. So I say to suppliers, what do you do? Oh, I struggle to get the business. And I think, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to have somewhere that you could go, crikey, I need this, and someone go, oh, I offer it, or look, but actually, I think the issue you've got with the care sector is that they well, I say arguably cut back on that budget, or they don't have one, or they don't have somebody that's responsible for making themselves well seen. Because if you don't put yourself out there, I mean, we've got the new adverts that, you know, the care sector saying, you know, oh, we need such and such. There's a whole heap of suppliers out there that are more than happy. They're more than happy. And the sad thing is that at these events that we go to, you know, the care shows and the things that the NEC or whatever, they're great, but that's once a year for that or whatever. But and actually walk away from there probably forgetting half the people you've spoken to anyway, or signing up to something on a whim. And I think it's really sad that, you know, that we've come up with something that is really, really good, that doesn't involve a really expensive membership to a network. It doesn't involve yet going to events where you're not necessarily going to see people that are in your area either. But oddly, people will buy into that, but they won't buy into something that just takes a little bit of a little bit of investment of time, but a massive return on investment. My time investment. My mum worked in procurement, and she said it would have been amazing because she used to have to for the NHS. She said if I could have gone to a platform and actually then said, right, okay, we're looking for providers. She said I wouldn't have had to trawl through the internet for hours and making phone calls. Yes, you'd still need to, but at least you'd have whittled it down to people that ballpark figure are interested in or have a specialism in supplying you.
And there you have it, folks. Oh, there was a little bit of dim-dim coming out there. I'll try and stay. Why am I getting that? That's weird.
Not my end.
That's very strange.
I had a wasp
Folks,
buzzing.
we have waffled our way, talked our way, whatever our way, through another 45 minutes of your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. The two lessons from today are this. Get good training. If you need good training, you know where to go. Marianne Mills sat right next to me in virtual land, that is, today. Do get in touch. Go and talk to Marianne about training. In fact, just want to plug at this point as well. You have an open day coming up where people can come do AET. Do you want to just tell people about that?
29th to the 31st of May. So that's with the AET in Solihull. Lovely venue.
Nice central.
So you've got 2 days of me teaching you, and then on the last day you showcase what you've learnt and you do a micro teach, and that will be a qualification that's something you don't have to update. However, watch this space with something that's coming up. But yeah, and that will allow you to deliver accredited qualifications for anything really, and also it will help you for delivering presentations or anything really, and just being more confident. And it's £550.
Absolute bargain.
Nothing. Bargain.
Very quickly, I'm just going to do that again, just so that. So what was it? This is the 29th to the
31st of May.
Okay, hold on. Here we go, folks. This is the offer of the century. 29th to the 31st of May, you can get yourself trained. Why wouldn't you want to? You could be better than you were before. All you need to do is join us in Solihull. It's the pleasant place of England. You can learn from Marianne Mills. You can buy one, get one. That's right. Buy one, get one. Come on this course, buy one, get one, and you will learn. At the end of this course, you will be much brainier than you were when you started. If you're interested, please do call the toll-free number below. There we go. Talking about offers. Now all you need to do is pick up the phone. We'll see you again. Same time, same place next week. Until then.